Let me restart. We are doing Introduction to Prana Tejas Ojas. We have already been talking about Prana and you already know a lot about Prana, but we'll just put it all in perspective and just giving you a very flyby, bird's eye view. Anyone who has had any kind of autoimmune disorder, so autoimmune disorders are usually, people will say, Ojas is immunity. What is Pran Tejas? So Pran Tejas and Ojas are connected. When somebody's Pran is affected, there's a chance Tejas and Ojas is affected. Ojas cannot be affected and Pran is very happy. They're always unhappy. Think of, just to give you an example, I'm not sure if it's a best example, but this is one way. Think of Ojas as a container. Let me draw a better. Think of it's like a glass or a container, right? There's a container. In the container is a biodynamic fluid, so think of the container as the Ojas, and inside the container is Pran mixed with Ojas. I'm not sure it's a great example, but I'm trying my best. Think of Ojas as a container, Pran and Ojas inside, and the fact that this keeps on changing is the energy that makes it change, because it's a dynamic thing that can change shape, is Tejas, is also inside this container. So Pran would be the space, and Ojas would be the liquid, and Tejas would be hard to explain. Another way that my guru or teacher explained it to me was that this is a little bit more esoteric answer. So you have your physical body, yeah, and then we have our Atma, and then we have our subtle body, and then we have, and it's all powered by the Atma, or the spiritual soul, right? We have Paramatma, which is basically divine in our heart. So in our heart, there is Atma, there's a subtle body which is made of different koshas. And if you people have studied yoga, and then you have the physical body. So in the physical body, if you were to think of, Vat, Pit, and Kapha as residing in the physical body, you know that Vata resides in the colon, and Pitta resides in the liver, and Kapha resides in ear, nose, throat. But pretty much they're omnipresent all over the body, and they make things work. So they're also present in the subtle body. But because it's a subtle body, it doesn't have a physical form. How can Vata, Pitta, Kapha exist in the subtle body when they do not have a form? So one form that they exist in the subtle body, this is one explanation. This is not complete explanation. This is just one explanation. Vata would exist in the subtle body as a prana, very, very refined essence. Pitta would as a tejas, and Kapha as an ojas. So Pran is a very refined essence of Vata. Tejas is very refined essence of Pitta, and Ojas is very refined essence of Kapha, even down at the cellular level, spiritual level. It's a refined essence. Does that make sense? Think of it as you can think that Vata transforms into Prana. You can think Prana is a byproduct of Vata. You can think of it's a classification, however you want to explain it. Pitta, Tejas is a byproduct or transformation or subtle, however you want to explain it. It's just it's something that you really kind of have to pray and put it out there, and it comes to you. And kapha is in one sense easy because ojas is the actual byproduct of the food that we eat. And that ojas does exist in the body. But then there is another ojas that exists in the body but also exists in the subtle body that we'll talk about. So essentially there's really two kinds of ojas. One is in physical body, giving us immunity and strength, and one is divine. Think of it as a divine magic that has been given in our body. And this pran, tejas, ojas live in our body as long as we are alive and we have a body and we have a heart, and because the heart has soul and divine in it. When we die, when we leave our body, so who is the one that is going to leave the body? The physical body is going to decompose and die, right? It is the soul and the divine that kind of, as a package, they're going to leave the body, and then we say a person has died. When they leave the body, then pran, tejas, ojas also leave with them. And when that person will karmically, let's say, is reincarnated, the Atma, Paramatma, pran, tejas, ojas will go there along with the karmic aspect. So I'm kind of going in a very broad detail here, and then I'll come back. Let me save this for you. Does that make any sense? Any questions? No? Okay. Okay. Okay, good. So just Vayu, Prana, Vayu, Vayu, Agni, Vayu being or Prana, there is a Devata or an angel of wind. He is the father of Hanuman, Maruta, who is the monkey god. And he resides in the chest of Vishnu. He's a Devata. So he is a demigod actually. He's personification of wind. Not just wind that is the atmosphere that is in our planet, but in the universe. His subtle form also exists in every being that exists, not only in land, but also water, also air, space, everything. He kind of controls. And when there is no air, there is no life breath, there is no life. So and it exists in water. That's why when they find water in different planets, they know there's life there, because water means air, right? And these are all the qualities of, in Vedic culture, everything has a lord and a god and an angel that controls. You even have a minor angel or devata who controls the blinking of eyelids. There are so many, and these are all minor. So if you were to look at all these gradation of, just like in Christianity, you have gradations of the minor angels, major angels, archangels, and whatnot. Same thing in the Vedic. I think there's a lot of cross between them. You have the minor devatas, and then you have somewhere in the middle, and then you have the big ones, and then you have the three big ones, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesha. And they're all controlling everything in the universe. And why are we starting with that? Because when somebody's prana is down, that there is a karmic aspect to it. There's a godly divine aspect to it as well. This is why I'm starting with that. We already know pran. I mean, if you've studied yoga, you know how important everything is about pran. And even in Chinese medicine, even Tai Chi or Qigong, these martial arts, is all about regulating what they call Qi. In fact, entire acupuncture is also all about regulating Qi, right? So they say we're regulating Qi. And the aim and objective of doing a yoga, stretching with breathing exercise and doing pranayam, wherein you inhale and then you exhale, and then you deepen your breath and deepen your stretch with it. That is yoga. Otherwise, if you were not to exhale and inhale, then it's just any other exercise. It is the process of moving prana that differentiates yoga from other forms of stretching, really. Now, I want to add that Pran is definitely the life force, and it is getting, think of it, there's a fan blowing the Pran all over the body. And the Pran is blowing the energy that is getting from your soul, from your Atma. So Atma is the life energy, but it's stuck. It doesn't do anything in your body because it is made up of a substance that is divine. So our soul is made, and it has no material energy. It doesn't know how to, it's from another world, and it doesn't know how to do anything. So prana is that energy that takes that our atma, our soul, and kind of circulates it all over the body. That's what we mean. So pran by itself, if there was no atma, so think of it as you have a soul, and soul is basically what gives us life, right? And soul is made up of what? It is made up of divine material because it's part and parcel of God or divine. That means it is not made up of any metal or substance that is known to man on earth or any universal system, because it's a divine thing. And this, we know the size of the soul is said to be 1 by 10,000 the size of the width of the hair. So pran is basically circulating that life force. Which life force? The life force from here, this soul, because this soul, it cannot do anything in it by itself because it doesn't interact with material energy. So prana connects the soul to the body. Does it make sense? There needs to be a medium that connects that soul to the body. So yeah, okay, perfect. But because we are Ayurvedic practitioners or learning to be one, we also want to take into account the air that we breathe in. Now, air that we breathe in is 21% oxygen. The 21% oxygen that we breathe in, it goes in, and then of course, you have the pulmonary circulation, and then you have the cardio circulation. You need the oxygen to survive, basically. Even in our red blood cell, in our hemoglobin, oxygen is needed. In fact, that's why we're breathing. So prana is the most important. When we talk about prana as being a subdosha of vata, we are not talking about the life force prana. We are talking about the oxygen prana. So just for the sake of learning, we have divided prana into two. There is prana that is the life force or chi, which is what, when you're doing yoga process and yoga studies, we're talking about this one. But when we are talking about prana as being the subdosha of vata, or then we are only talking about prana as how prana is clinically manifested in the body and systematically being circulated through the blood. Then we are talking through the lungs, through the heart. Then we are talking about oxygen. And where is the location of prana? Now this is a little tricky. Let me see. I will show you. Let me put my video on. Obviously, you would think prana should reside in the heart, but prana does not reside in the heart. The soul resides in the heart. Prana resides on the top of your head. So it basically is circulating all energy from the top of the head. So let me see if I can, let me start the video. Can you see me? I just started my video. No, it wouldn't be third eye. So I'm going to take my headset out for a second just to show you. Okay. So this is Adhipati Marma. So watch how I did it. I took my hand, I put it here, and then I put the other hand on the top of it. And where my second hand finishes, right in the middle, right here, is the Adhipati Marma. It'll be a little tender when you touch it. So Adhipati Marma is, when you have babies and they have that very tender spot on the top of their head, which is the fontanelle, and when they're 18 months old, those bones join together because those bones are basically separate so that they can come out of the vagina during delivery. So that area, that fontanelle, is the source of a prana. It is Adhipati Marma, and it is your top chakra at the same time. We already know you have a chakra, Brahma Rundra chakra. Let me write that down. And this is also called Adhipati Marma. So it's a very important. I don't know if you're into movies or anything, but they'll say this person died of a blunt force trauma to the head. If someone gets hits here really hard, this can lead to death. So Marma, literally, the word Marma means it is a very important place, and it's a very sensitive place. So even like doing your meditation, one hand on the heart and one hand on the top, like if you start a yoga class, or you could, rub your hands and put your hand there. And then you could also put it on the third eye. You could put it on your eyes, then put it on your heart. So then you're taking the prana from here and distributing it everywhere. Okay, I'm going to turn off my video. All right. Make sense? Okay. Do you wanna show me? I can show you a couple of more marmas. No problem. You were asking about the third eye marma, right? Let's show you the third eye. So yeah, so you have your third eye, which is right here, and that is also a marma. And so all the 7 chakras are basically marmas. Every 7 chakra is a marma. But they are the chakras are kind of like super marmas. So you have super marmas, which are, control a lot of things. So you have the one marma here, and then you have the one marma right in the center, which is your third eye. And then you have the Shankha marma, which is basically your temples. Then, you have a marma, which is in the, think of your eyes where they end right here. I don't know what you're seeing because my glasses are off. It's right here. It's a tender spot. That is another marma. So you have secondary marmas, you marmas here. So we can actually use the marma if someone's prana is low. When someone prana is affected, when you even gently touch them, they'll go, oh, that hurt, because prana is displaced. Even doing something very simple like taking a little bit of sesame oil or coconut oil and warming it up, and just putting it there and holding that at the prana area, a person will start calming down. And by checking, and if it's super tender, prana is displaced or prana is unhappy. So that is one way to check the level of prana. Of course, there's other ways we check. All right, now I'm actually stopping the video. All right, what do we have here? I'm going to save this for you. So we already discussed these symptoms last time when we did the case study form. Chronic fatigue, waking up tired, low energy all day. This could also be, if someone has anemia, somebody's anemic. What is the top sign of that somebody's anemic? If someone walks in and says, oh my God, I don't have any energy. The first question you're going to ask them, have you been checked? Have you had your blood count done? Did you go to your physician? Are you anemic? And then they'll probably say, yeah, I've been there and I'm okay. It's not my, no, my hemoglobin is not affected and it's not low. Or they'll say, oh my God, I didn't even think of that. So first question we ask when somebody's always tired is, are you anemic? Do you tend to be anemic? Have you been to your physician? But with prana being low, they'll have headaches, and the headaches will be between the, third eye and top of the head, tension headaches. It won't be a pitta kind of, sharp headache. It'll be like a vata headache. The mind will not be clear. Memory will be not clear. For vata person, they can even lose weight. Why? Because prana tejas ojas is connected. they might have low libido, and they might even have difficulty swallowing. Okay, so these are the symptoms when prana is low. There is also something when prana is high. It doesn't mean that, oh, this person has too much prana. It basically means a person has too much air in the body. That's all that, I mean, there is actually an imbalance when a person takes in, there's too much air in the body, or there's too many red blood cells being created. So that would be high prana. That's all what it means, because there's some colleges that talk about high prana. That's what it means. We are mostly interested in the low prana. So for digestion, because a person's prana is low, that means they do not even have energy to digest food. Because you would think, what has prana got to do with eating soups and khichdi? Because you need energy to digest your food. If you're going to have like a big, if your client is going to have like a big dinner with pasta and steak and wine, and if they have no prana, their body is not going to digest it. You want to clear the srotases so the prana can return. So it should be very sattvic, pure vegetarian plant-based diet, ghee, soups, khichdi, grounding vegetables for a few days, as they're kind of almost like a gentle cleanse, and in a week or so their prana will start returning. They should do some meditation. Prana is in the head, so it is definitely going to affect the mind of the person. Chanting Om, actually more than Om, but Om is easy. If they don't want to chant Om, just ask them to sing. Just say, clear your throat, because prana is also responsible for swallowing. And they could do, Brahmari pranayam. So Brahmari pranayam. So Brahmari pranayam is, this one, Evelyn, right? Maria, do you know this one? Brahmari pranayam, the buzz bee breath or the bee breath? Okay. I'm going to show you just, again, starting the video. Today is a lot of video, huh? Yeah, I'm in such a good mood because I'm going on vacation in a couple of days. So I'm very happy. Anyway. So there's two types of Brahmari pranayam. Brahmari pranayam is like a bee breath, basically. So you basically chant Om from the back of your throat. You could rub your hands, put it on your eyes, or put it on your eyes like this, and you chant Om. Om. That is one way. Another way is you close your eyes and you kind of buzz like a bee. Either one. I know that in US everybody prefers to do Om, except you might have a client who's Christian or Buddhist or something, and they may not want to chant Om, so you don't have to do an Om, which is why they could just do a buzzy breath. And kids love doing this. It's really calming for children. Did you get it, Maria? Clear? So pranayam, especially Brahmari pranayam, mantra, if again, you can give them intentions if they're not open to mantras, but 8 times out of 10, I've seen people are open to mantras. I kind of explained it's just a invocation and an intention, and they can do their mantras, and you're invoking. When you invoke angels and devatas, and by doing mantras and chanting, then basically it starts regulating your prana. Why? Because prana is coming from your soul, which is a part of the divine. So you need to connect it. If somebody wants to, do like a, yeah. But like I said, not everybody would be into mantras. So maybe that you can give them like an intention, or, set an intention. Oh, I have beautiful energy coming in. One thing I forgot to write in there is doing breathing exercises at early morning. So as soon as they get up in the morning, there's a lot of oxygen in the air, especially if you're in a green area or where the garden is, because plants will give oxygen, right? They release oxygen. So in early morning, there's a lot of oxygen in the air. So that is the best time to kind of, it's almost like an oxygen intake therapy. That's a really good time. Unfortunately, if you have a client who has allergies, maybe it's not so good for them to sit outside. I mean, especially in Texas, we have a lot of allergy issues. But I think, Maria, San Diego is this is a great time early morning to go out. I mean, people are all out running and jogging at this time anyway, between 5, 6, 6:30, as soon as they get up in the morning to do a little bit of pranayama. Some of the herbs are ashwagandha, shatavari, and tulsi. Yeah, this is pretty much for increasing energy. All three of them can be given. Remember, ashwagandha, tulsi are a little bit heating, so you want to give it with maybe coconut water or ghee or something like tulsi in a tea form, ashwagandha maybe with a little ghee or coconut water, because it can be heating for a pitta person. Shatavari is very cooling, so you avoid for a kapha person. Same thing, we talked about prana. Now we are talking about tejas. Tejas is the essence of pitta energy. You know how when a woman is pregnant and you say, oh my God, you're glowing, right? Or you see somebody who's this very spiritual person and there's some kind of energy that shines from within. It's a spiritual energy that's shining from within, right? Do you know what I'm talking about? That is really tejas shining. And when somebody is sick, you see sick people. I don't know how many you see, but if you see someone who is just returned from a hospital or a surgery, or some people who've had chemotherapy or some kind of, or fighting cancer, there's no tejas left. Tejas is gone. So tejas is that essence of pitta energy. You can have excessive or raw unprocessed tejas. When a person has a lot of pitta, obviously there'll be a lot of tejas. So that would end up in a lot of skin issues and autoimmune skin disorders and stuff like that. We are not going to talk about since I'm only introducing you to the concept, so we're going to talk about the skin issues only. We are not going to get into the autoimmune issues because that's a topic for kind of really a practitioner topic, but we do discuss it a little bit in AC 105. So usually if a person has high or low pitta, their skin is affected, right? Because pitta is brajak pitta. A person can have very dull, dry, or very oily skin. They can have kind of like a drooping eyes. They can have eczema, autoimmune issues related to skin and pitta. It can have psoriasis, dermatitis and whatnot, lack of luster in the skin. So it's kind of tejas. So that is the only thing that I'm introducing you to, because they're kind of easy to understand. When a person's glowing, it's good, great tejas. When a person is dull, it's not so good. When a person has some kind of pitta inflammation and the skin is very red, so it might be to do with tejas. So we know that tejas will happen, it's very high when there's high agni. So oily skin, adult acne, sensitive eyes, like kind of skin is on fire. And especially when it's connected to autoimmune disorders, that is when you know it's an order of tejas. Then digestion protocol is super easy. Just calm down their pitta. Cooling foods like coconut, watermelon, zucchini, rose jams, bitter vegetable, beans, khichdi, and avoid citrus, sour, salt, hot chili, spice. A very alkaline diet, not acidic diet. Think of like when tejas is high, there's a lot of acid. When tejas is low, then a person will usually also have low pran and also will have low ojas. They kind of always go together. I wouldn't say always, I would say 75% of the time they go together. Either pran and tejas are affected, or pran and ojas are affected, or tejas and ojas are affected. They kind of, because they're, held together in the same kind of bucket, they work with each other. So let me ask you, did you understand any question about tejas? Oh, that's a good question, Evelyn. No, tulsi, if you have a cup of tulsi, it is not heating. It's basically, let's say, if a person has any kind of respiratory disorders or some kind of, respiratory congestion or going on, a mind is not sattvic, so tulsi is definitely going to help. All you need to do is you can cool down tulsi by adding sugar, or something like you could add rose tea. You could do a mixture of rose and tulsi. You could add sugar, which is cooling. So you could add something. Honey is heating. Honey is very heating. Now, there is a couple of honeys that are not heating, that are like very rare, but most honeys are heating. So when I want to give tulsi and honey, I will give tulsi and honey with chest congestion. When somebody, so you could also give allergies and so on. So then you could give tulsi and honey with chest congestion, and you could also do tulsi, ginger, honey for cough. That will kind of clear up. So think of it this way. When you have a sinus issue, so sinus issue is usually on your nose, and again, I'm going to show you a few things since. Can you see me? Perfect. So, a person has, let's say, sinus headache, or they're congested, and this is all and their face hurts. Usually they're, the sinuses, this will hurt, and they're all congested. And usually at that time, prana becomes blocked, because where is prana flowing from? From the nostrils, right? You can't breathe, and you're breathing through the mouth, right? So the prana automatically starts becoming blocked when you have congestion right here. So that's why you do neti, and then you do nasya. You do neti and nasya to clear those nostrils, so the pran can start flowing again. So when a person has congestion, this area, they cannot think. They'll say, oh my God, I can't think right now. Why can't they think right now? Because pran is not flowing, because pran is stuck, because there's all this sinus, phlegm, congestion, sputum stuck in this area, and it's not allowing the pran to escape. So really, you have to force them to do pranayam even if no air is coming, because when you're breathing through the nostrils instead of mouth, it acts as a natural bronchodilator. Force them to. Does it make sense? So that is one way of, I'm just trying to say how pran, tejas, and ojas. So it is not just that pran can affect, so here in kapha is blocking pran in sinus issues. So neti, nasya, and if there is, difficulty swallowing, if there's stuff going on in the neck, like congestion and cough, then tulsi and honey and ginger, you want to gargle this area to clear it. And then you want to take these scraping, turmeric, tulsi, ginger, honey, all of them are heating, and they are lekana herbs. That means they scrape that area. Then of course that passage is clear. So then the pran, because now you'll have, pran is going to start working again. Oops, sorry. No, what just happened there? Make sense? Yeah? Okay. So now we come to ojas. Ojas is a Sanskrit word that implies immunity, compassion, patience, strength, energy, vigor. I don't know what that is. Stick to iviness? I think that means forgiveness. I'm sorry. I don't know what happened there. Let's see. When a person has really good ojas, usually that means they have very balanced kapha, and that would lead to all of this. Ojas is the essence of kapha, and basically there's Sanskrit name, we call it para ojas and apara ojas, and I kind of did not want to get into all of that. We've tried doing that with the beginners group, and it kind of just ends up confusing everybody. So what we do is now we introduce everybody in the first term, so you're kind of almost at the end of your first term. We kind of introduce you to the concept, and then somewhere in the middle of the program, we kind of throw more at you. And then at the end, we throw even more at you. And if you go and do the practitioner program, we kind of just delve into it. because there's, although immunity disorders would be in the purview of prana, tejas, ojas, we kind of don't go into the doshas then. So it is a good idea to kind of introduce them now. So you have the divine ojas. So just remember, in Sanskrit they're called para and apara ojas. Right now we are just calling them divine and bodily. Divine ojas is think of this magical drops of antimatter given by God. It flows from the mom to the baby through the placenta, between in the 4th and the 8th month. That's why we say if the child is born in 8th month and does not complete the entire term, is going to have low immunity, because the immunity, the ojas, is going to flow in the 8th month. And this one is kind of an antimatter. It's 8 drops. It resides in the heart. And it's kind of like a magical substance given by God. It's neither physical, neither non-physical. It's an energetic matter, just like soul. And this is kind of, a person, when you see spiritual people and you see yogis, I don't know how many yogis you've met, I've met a few. They do such hard tapas, they do such hard tapas. They're kind of give themselves almost bodily suffering, in the sense that they will not eat for 40 days, or do very hard exercise and mantras and tapas to kind of reach divine. And they're not eating, but how are they living? I mean, there have been yogis in India who has stopped eating for 56 days and not even drinking water, and they're living because their ojas and prana is so high that it's sustaining them. And you have to see it to believe it, and I have seen it. Then that's the ojas. It's kind of karmic, given by mom, given by our past life karma. That's what kind of, our, when, think of it this way, when you are, there's something called broad immunity that we have, that is an acquired immunity. So that would come under the purview of bodily ojas. Bodily ojas is something that as soon as a baby's, first of all, whatever immunity mom has, it's flowing to the child. If the mom was vaccinated, it's flowing to the child. When the child is born, mother is nursing the child. So through the breast milk, immunity is also flowing. So breast milk has certain, will give immunity, and breast milk will also, it has these wonderful qualities. So whatever mother is eating is turning into breast milk and ojas and going into the child. And the child starts eating, everything the child eats is also going to turn into ojas. So there is the bodily ojas, which is a byproduct of our digestion. And we call it metabolic cascade. Basically, I'm not going to get into it, but just to give you one line, because this we talk for almost 1 month in AC 105. Whatever you eat, whether you are a baby who's getting nursed from mom or any person, first, whatever you eat turns into this byproduct called chyle. And the chyle is kind of like a bolus of nutritive essence that has been taken from the food you've eaten. And then it gets distributed to the body. So we say in Ayurveda, the first tissue that gets nourished by that ahara rasa, by that chyle, is rasa dhatu, which is your plasma, followed by blood, followed by muscle, followed by fat, followed by bones, followed by the nervous system, then followed by shukra dhatu, which is your reproductive system. So in a cascade, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that, these things are nourished by the food that we eat. In the end, the reproductive system, or what we call the reproductive fluids, a portion of the reproductive fluids in the body is taken to create a byproduct that is called ojas. So when someone has low energy and low prana and low ojas, they do not have any libido. They do not want to have sex. That is the last thing on their mind. Why? Because usually a person's reproductive fluids are getting used to make their ojas. So when ojas is not there, then reproductive fluids are not there. Does it make sense? So that is just kind of like giving you the entire 6-month version that an Ayurvedic doctor will study in India in one line. We are not concerned with the divine ojas today. because that is a topic. We are only concerned with bodily ojas that is created by think of it as a byproduct of perfect digestion. It's a byproduct of our digestion that goes from our stomach to the plasma, to the blood, to the muscle, to the fat, to the bones, to the nervous system, to the reproductive system, and eventually the ojas is produced. So this is the only ojas we are interested in, and this is the ojas that we're going to talk about in the next slide. So this is, we're talking about the bodily ojas now. Acharya Charaka says this ojas that is produced as from the byproduct of Shukra Dhatu, is heavy, cool, soft, smooth, viscous, sweet, stable, clear, unctuous, and a sticky thing. So it's kind of almost yellow in color. It says it is almost yellow like honey, and it smells of a rice paddy. So color of ghee. So here we go. Color of ghee. So clarified butter yellow, taste of honey, and smell of dry fried rice. That is how Charaka describes it. So when someone has low immunity, or they're getting sick again and again, or they've just had a flu, or they're just kind of down and low, foods that can help replenish is ghee, non-homogenized milk. And people will come and say, well, what about almond milk? No, only milk. If they are allergic to milk, then you just can't give it to them. But try to see if they will have ghee, because ghee doesn't have any milk in it. All the milk product has been removed. But if they still don't want to have ghee, then you can give them, dates and figs. And I can write that down. Dates, figs, unsulfured molasses. That should be good. But the top is ghee, and you can give them a kapha increasing diet, at least. Kapha increasing diet should usually do the trick of increasing ojas. But if a kapha person's ojas is down, then you do not give kapha increasing diet. Then you just give kapha balancing diet, buzz. Because in kapha person, when their ojas is affected, that means they are producing too much ojas. So ojas doesn't have a time of processing. So you're just going to give your regular kapha balancing diet to that person. No, sun glaze has nothing to do with ojas. What you're talking about is yogis and the stuff the yogis do. That is really, yeah, it has nothing to do with it. Now, having said that, I have been a worshiper of Surya and sun. And the Surya Namaskar, the sun salutation, is all about worshiping the sun. And if you actually look at sun salutation or the mantra, there is a mantra that goes for every Surya Namaskar. For every time you do an asana, you are supposed to say a mantra, Om Bhaskarai Namaha, Om Ravaye Namaha, Om Bhanave Namaha, like that. And then at the end of doing your Surya Namaskar, you offer water and flowers to the sun. And you ask the sun to destroy all your disease and give you energy. And it can even be done as a meditation, but that's a very spiritual thing. It has, of course, it's going to help your pran, tejas, and ojas and spiritual life, but it's more a yoga process. It's not an Ayurvedic process. And I do that, and I have done that all my life. I'll go for a sun walk in the middle of the noon. Ideally, the best time to do it is in the morning, but I have done that. I'll go for a walk, I'll meditate on sun, and I'll ask sun to bless me. Yeah. And yeah, if you could get up in the morning and offer, face east, get up in the morning from, go to your garden or whatever, and offer some, flower and some water to the sun, and you will see there's so much blessing and abundance will come to your life. But that is a yogic process, like I said. Does that answer your question? Okay. All right. Okay. So, this is kind of, if you think of this is common sense. This is common sense. I mean, If you are balancing a person's Agni and you're balancing their Vat, Pitta, Kapha, I mean, think because Pran, Tejas, and Ojas are kind of situated in your subtle body, in your spiritual body. So the spiritual aspect kind of becomes important at that time. This is, from the food perspective, it's the same thing. Try to give fresh food, unprocessed, non-GMO, try to even a little bit of intermittent fasting. It's a kapha person, and intermittent fasting is actually not a bad thing. But pitta and vata, no fasting at all, meaning they should have their 3 meals. And so all of these things, don't watch television, quietly, all of these things. But as far as I'm concerned, and this is just in my own practice, I think the spiritual aspect, meditation, chanting, these things kind of get lost sometimes. And for any kind of these disorders, especially, oh, Aparna ji, I'm so glad, because while I was doing the class, some anubhuti was coming. So thank you. It's your kripa to me. No, it is my anubhuti. So I was meditating on you, and then I started thinking of Sri Ram, and some anubhuti of Pran, Tejas, and Ojas started coming. So it is all your kripa. All right. So balancing Pran, Tejas, and Ojas. Going back to the first slide here. So let's go back to the first slide and bring it together. You know, in fact, let me share the thing that I had done to kind of bring it together. So going back to that first slideshow that I had made, you have the physical body that you could, all that food protocol that we are talking about, kind of common sense, right foods and whatnot. It's in the physical body. From the mental perspective, you're going to take care of sattva, tamas, and rajas. Right? So physical body, you're going to check vata, pitta, kapha. Mental, you're going to check state of sattva, tamas, and rajas. And in the subtle body, especially, I mean, if you think of all kind of autoimmune disorders, what has happened in the autoimmune disorders? Think about it. The body is attacking itself. There is something in there that it doesn't like, it doesn't recognize, it recognizes as foreign. So it's whether it's something as serious as cancer, or it is something more general or related to skin. Like I said, all the autoimmune disorders are that you could be related to tejas, will express themselves in skin. Related to prana will express themselves in pranavahashrotasis. And they will all affect the ojas. But body is, so when you think that pran, tejas, and ojas, especially pran, is circulating the energy of the atma, the soul, and the paramatma, there must be a disconnect between prana and disconnect between our subtle body and atma, and we have disconnected with it, and the body is, I mean, from the spiritual perspective, of course, there's all these, they can be hundreds of causative factors, but that is the one that as Ayurvedic counselors or practitioners we can focus on, specifically in autoimmune disorders, because when someone has something like that, they're already been to their physician, they're already undergoing some kind of therapy or whatnot. But if we can connect that, the connection of the subtle body, we can remind them, you are not this body. You're not this body. I mean, if I have a penny for every time, like I had a 66-year-old yesterday, and she's beautiful. She's a beautiful person. She's so beautiful. I massaged her, and she was crying that she has lines on her face. She's so ugly. I'm like, what is wrong with you? You're 66. If you did not have lines on your face, and then she was laughing because I was talking to her like that. But, as women, we will kind of beat ourselves up, and other women will do that too. We are not this body. We are not fat, ugly, black, white. We're not this body, and we are not the disease that inflicts us. So many times, and this is maybe, I don't know if you've seen it, maybe Aparnaji has seen it in her practice. When people have a serious disease, they define themselves from the disease. They become the disease. So they basically are kind of in a circle there. So because there's a disconnect, because they're not understanding I am Atma and there is Paramatma, and that Atma being made of that magical material, which is a divine material, cannot interact with the physical material world. So pran is that energy that is circulating the Atma, but it's not reaching your heart, and there's a disconnect. And where is the disconnect happening? The disconnect will happen in the region of the heart. That's where the disconnect is going to happen. Why? Because the divine ojas lives there. Now, I have heard this, and I am not sure if that's true. And this is kind of, I'm really going off the topic because I want to make sure that I fill my 3 more minutes that I have. I heard Dr. Kirti, who taught here for a good 7 years. She described, she was talking about different autoimmune disorders related to ojas. And what she did, she said that, if someone has had some kind of trauma, like even a physical trauma, or they've done something really bad, like a bad karma, that can, the trauma can displace the divine ojas that lives in your heart and can lead to an autoimmune disorder. Now, that is something I've read in a book. It might be her anubhuti or realization, but that was a very interesting argument. At the end of the day, ojas is, you can do hours and hours and hours of talking. We had Dr. Priyanka who was going to do a class on Ojas and Pran once, the same class that I'm doing with you. And we went to and fro like 10 times. And we were all just meditating on that. It's a hard topic. But I don't know, that's it. I'm done. But is there any, like, is it clear? Are you more confused than when you started? Yeah, I mean, just to give you an example, like I can't even, I have had so many clients who are like, I have one client right now. I'm going to stop recording.